Welcome to the self-sufficient backyard for the independent homesteader. Today's project is a trash can root cellar. This root cellar can be used to store root crops such as turnips, parsnips, beets, rutabagas, carrots, and of course potatoes. All these vegetables are perfect for this method of food storage. Last fall, late November, early December, we had an excavator out to do some work. Before leaving, we had him clear a small area at the edge of the woods as a pad to build our root cellar, and that's what you see in the picture. We'll be using a standard size metal trash can with lid we purchased from the local store. That can will become our root cellar. If we do this right, we should be able to keep our root crops fresh through the winter months. Keep in mind, we are building our root cellar for this particular location and climate. We live in Nova Scotia. You'll need to modify and adapt for your own situation. How much rain do you get? How much snow? Does the snow last through the winter? Keep in mind, snow is an additional layer of insulation. How cold does it get? These are all variables that need to be factored in when deciding on how you will build and insulate your own version of this root cellar. Our home was built with ICF insulated concrete forms. These forms are 2.5 inches thick pieces of styrofoam, which is great insulation. We had pieces left over from the house construction, and this is a wonderful utilization of scrap materials. The idea is to use this scrap insulation to surround our trash can, bottom, top, both sides, back and front. This will be the first layer of insulation we will use. Once we are insulated with blueboard, the next step is to cover the whole thing with soil to create a mound. That soil will also act as an insulation for your root cellar. As I mentioned earlier, you may need to modify and adapt for your climate. For those in warmer climates, you may not need all the insulation. For those in really cold climates, you might have your can insulated, put a layer of soil on top, put another layer of foam insulation, and then finally more soil to create your final mound. The idea is to create an environment that cools down to the mid 30 degree to 40 degree Fahrenheit range and maintains it. That's an ideal temperature. I forgot to add a piece of plastic, so I had to shovel off the top of my insulation to slip a sheet of plastic in. That plastic sheet will protect our trash can from rain and melting snow, will prevent air movement to the front of the can, and will prevent the accumulation of ice and snow freezing our insulation in during the winter. That way, if need be, we can access and grab some vegetables anytime during the winter as needed. My plastic is in place. I've shoveled dirt back on top to create my mound, and it's time to store the vegetables. This was an experiment, and we did not fully fill our root cellar with vegetables. I also stuck a cabbage and a squash in as part of the experiment. I don't think they will fare well, but we'll give it a try. We use straw, but hay will work as well. The idea is to surround our vegetables completely in the insulating straw. No vegetable should ever touch the metal can. Keep in mind, the more densely packed with vegetables, the more mass, and the easier it should be to keep the can's contents from freezing. I have a layer of straw on the bottom and the back of the can, and as I put vegetables in the center, I want to build straw up on each side. Once filled with vegetables, put straw on the top, plug the front of the can with straw, seal it with the lid, and then it's time to insulate the front with more blueboard insulation. Drop the flap of plastic to protect everything, and we're ready for the final step. We want to insulate the entire mound now. We live in the forest with access to spruce fir boughs, so it was easy for me to cut a bunch and throw them on the top of our mound. Maybe you have grass clippings, pile of leaves, mulch of some kind, anything to insulate the pile and make it harder for the cold to penetrate and freeze the ground early on. In warmer climates, you may not need this step. It will be trial and error the first attempt. We are now ready for winter. It's now late March, early April, and it's time to go shopping. I'm removing all the brush from our mound, and we're going to expose the root cellar and see what we've got, see how well things stored for us. Our root cellar was never open during the winter, and we had very little snow this past winter to act as insulation, and we had some pretty cold periods where nighttime temperatures went down close to zero, so I really don't know what we're going to find here. I'm opening up the can, took the blueboard, the can lid off. I'm pulling out all the straw that was the insulation in the front there. First thing I'm going to look for is the potatoes and see how well they did. They look great. They're all solid. They look like they were just dug this past fall. So I'm very pleased with that. I'm going to pull around now for some carrots and see how well they did. I can tell you that the cabbage had a kind of a slimy exterior, but as soon as you peeled that off, the interior was perfect. There you go, some nice carrots. So the carrots were solid, just like we dug them in the fall. And the squash was a total loss, which we figured. So there you have it. The construction of our root cellar was perfect in our location for keeping our root crops fresh through the winter. And you can do this as well. Thanks for watching.